The first preseason game is August 12th. The regular season starts September 11th. How do you feel about the Jaguars' chances in 2022? I just got asked that question today, so how about we, take a look at the schedule and predict what the Jacksonville Jaguars will do. I think the floor is 6 games for this team. I hope the floor is 6 games. Let's hope this football team isn't picking in the top 10 again in the draft. I think realistically, we're probably looking at maybe a 7-win team. Now, the ceiling might be 8 wins, unless something magical happens. Keep in mind, this team has won 4 combined games the last 2 years. So if you look what I think, this is my prediction, right? I think they get off to a slow start, believe it or not. And a lot of folks think they would have to get off to a fast start to do well this year. Got to get the W over Washington, W over the W. But then I actually think they lose to the Colts at home. I'll get to that in a moment. And then they roll off a few wins. Then they go streaky there. Remember, it's still a young football team. And they close pretty well overall. I think it will still mean something for the Jaguars to win football games down the stretch. Remember, 6, 7, or 8 wins is a big improvement around here. All right, let's take a look at some of the games. Everyone has the Jags beating the Colts in Jacksonville, and for good reason. The Jags are in Indy's head, and the Colts haven't won here since 2014. That being said, I told you this. I think it'll be like a playoff game for Indy. I think this game here means a lot for the Colts. And since they couldn't get in the playoffs last year, I think the Jags will split the Colts in 2022. And I think the Jags will lose the home game but win the road game. How about that? I mean, just got to be a little different. Everybody thinks the Jags are going to win that game. The Colts are going to come in here, and they want blood in that game. The Texans have been a pain for the Jaguars, and they are not good. The most disappointing part of last season, and there are plenty to choose from, might be getting swept by the Texans. Remember that opener in Houston? That was ugly. Houston, really not a good football team last year. Jags couldn't beat them. Houston doesn't figure to be that good of a football team this year. But can the Jags beat them? I think they can, and I think they will. And I think they will beat them here early and win away late. They've got to separate from the Texans here a little bit. Let's leave Houston in the basement of the AFC South. All right, the Jags play the NFC East this year. That means the Giants. This is a game the Giants will circle as a win, but shouldn't the Jags be confident too? I mean, the Giants are just okay. Daniel Jones and the Giants haven't been very good. They looked improved, but it's a game the Jaguars probably feel confident in, and I like the Jaguars here. If they're going to reach that 7 or 8 win total that I have them projected for, I think getting a win over a team like the Giants is important. The Broncos game, very interesting. If you go the week later, this is right in the middle of the season, of course. In the last few years, you wouldn't mind the idea of this team beating the Bronx. Then Russell Wilson got traded. That changed the dynamic in the AFC West and for the Broncos. This game is in London, but I don't believe the Jags have any built-in advantage in London. The best advantage the Jags might have actually in this game is coaching. Doug Peterson against rookie Nathaniel Hackett, of course, used to be here in Jacksonville. Is that a factor by the middle of the season? Who knows? Not sure. It would be an upset, in my opinion, if the Jags won, and I think they're going to lose in London. I have this feeling the Jags are going to beat someone from the AFC West. It looks like the best division, of course, and usually in the NFL, teams beat someone they are supposed to have no chance to beat. You could say that about the entire West when it comes to the Jags playing them. Tough schedule on paper for Jacksonville. Should I remind you, though, the Jags beat the Bills last year? Somehow. We're still trying to figure out how. I still think the Chiefs are a heavy lift. One of the few games I feel like on this entire schedule where the Jags just don't match up at all. I feel like it's a mismatch on paper at this point. We talk about the Jaguars' success and how they have the Colts number. Well, don't sleep on this game right down here in week number 12 because that's the Ravens. And even in lean years, the Jags have played well against the Ravens. In the last 6 meetings since 2011, the Jags and Ravens have split 3 wins, 3 losses for each. That'll be an interesting matchup when it happens Thanksgiving weekend. But I think the Jags could get it. On paper, it doesn't look like they're going to get it. But that's one of those games where I think the Jags win, and nobody will pick them to win. Oh, how about the Titans? I'm not as afraid of the Titans as many people are. Lost A.J. Brown. How good is Ryan Tannehill? How healthy and dominant, even though we love you, Derrick Henry, how's he going to be? One thing about Tennessee, they know how to win football games. I think the Jaguars can split with them, and if they do, that'll be a big lift to this organization, I think just from a mental standpoint. But I couldn't predict it. Actually, in my mind, think they can split with them, but I didn't predict it. Week 14 and Week 18. Titans could be playing meaningful football at that time. And If they couldn't upset the Titans that time of year, I think it could go a long way for the Jags. I have the Jags going 3-3 against the AFC South. That actually wouldn't be so bad. Let's throw one more of the 17 games in there. The Cowboys. Dallas will come to Jacksonville for the first time since 2006. It'll actually be just the second time in the history of this franchise the Cowboys will play in Jacksonville. Isn't that crazy? I looked it up. You look it up if you want. It really is true. Got a feeling the stadium will have a lot of Cowboys fans because of what I just mentioned. Dallas looks pretty good on paper, but the Jaguars have the same amount of playoff wins as the Cowboys this century. Don't ever trust Dallas. They usually disappoint. Action Sports Jax Primetime.
Saturday at 10:30 on Fox 30.